Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Doing Justice Brings Joy. I'm your host, Stella Adams, and today we're going to be kind of all over the place. A reminder, happy 92nd anniversary to the Durham Committee on the Affairs of Black People. That will be holding its banquet tomorrow night, and it's going to be a lovely affair. I'm going to dress up and be there, but I think more importantly, it represents one of the last pillars of Black Durham. We talked a little bit about last week that Mechanics and Farmers Bank was being acquired by Optus Bank, which is another Black-owned bank out of South Carolina. Their merger is going to create the first Black-owned, as opposed to Black-led, financial institution. Black Bank and CDFI, well, not financial institution, but Black Bank and Community Development Financial Institution. We're excited about that merger, but we're also sad at the loss of the legacy of Black Wall Street. The three pillars of Black Wall Street were Mechanics and Farmers Bank, Mutual Savings and Loan, and Mutual Life Insurance Company. And it was anchored, and they were the founders of North Carolina College, which became North Carolina Central University. They funded Lincoln Hospital. The founders of these institutions were the founders of the Durham Committee on the Affairs of Black People. So we are talking about foundational Black financial legacy. The reason we have a substantial Black upper and middle class that is generations old is because of Mechanics and Farmers Bank and that Black Wall Street legacy. And when Optus purchases Mechanics and Farmers Bank, none of those foundational institutions, Mechanics and Farmers Bank, which purchased Mutual Savings and Loan, so at least they were still there. And Mutual Life Insurance Company, we lost that legacy. But they provided stability, financial stability to Black Durham. We were able to have insurance, to bury our dead, to provide for our families. They were a cornerstone to when white banks wouldn't lend for home ownership. Mutual Savings and Loan did. And I remember as a small child, Mechanics and Farmers Bank was in my elementary school. We had our little, um, we have them for Advent now, where you put a little quarter in. But we had them back in grade school when I was in elementary school. I used to put um, dimes and quarters in my passbook, and there would be somebody who would come, and we would put $1 a week in our passbook and for Mechanics and Farmers Bank, and I put my little dollar a week in my passbook, and then at Christmas time we could come and get Christmas money, or we could save it up, and we had our own money that we saved. And we learned thrift and savings at an early age. I think my first account, I was in the third grade when I got my first account at Mechanics and Farmers Bank. So there is love and legacy there. Um, as an adult, our my husband and I had our first checking accounts and savings accounts at Mechanics and Farmers Bank. When his mother moved in with us, we opened up account. She opened up accounts at Mechanics and Farmers Bank. So it was a significant portion of my childhood, of my adulthood, of my life. And so I'm proud to see it grow, and I'm sad to see it go. It will only bear the title Mechanics and Farmers Bank for a period of 2 years, and then it will become Optus Bank. As we're going through these weird political and economic times, it looks like I was doing some research this week around Medicaid, the care economy. Danielle's going to be here at the end of the month. That's my daughter. She works for Oxfam America. She's going to be here at the end of the month, along with Senator Natalie Murdoch and other key leaders across the state, to talk about the care economy, um, which is child care, elder care, health care, the care economy. She's going to be talking about how North Carolina fares when it comes to that. And so I've been doing some research, um, pulling together some history, and we're not heading in the right direction. I was looking at Social Security. They keep talking about. I think the Triangle Business Journal did a story today about the demographics of North Carolina and how they're changing. And when I looked at that report, that article, it reminded me of the concerns raised by Danielle as she was discussing this care economy. And we are about to be in the same situation we were prior to Social Security Act being passed in 1935. For it used to be that for every one person turning 65 and retiring, there were two people entering the workforce to replace that retired person that was on Social Security. According to data that was cited in the article by Triangle Business Journal today, That's 1 to 1. So for every person 65 that leaves the workforce, and let me be real clear, there are not a whole lot of 65-year-olds leaving the workforce. I'm just going to be real with you. Um, there's one person coming in to the workforce. It's a 1 to 1 replacement now rather than a 2 to 1 replacement. And if you, with the attack that this government has made on immigration and foreign born folks coming into our country, that number is going below 1 to 1 replacement in the workforce. Which, and on top of that, the number of Americans who are over 100 jumped from 145,000 to over 400,000 in like 20 years. And in North Carolina, we have over 15,000 centenarians, which is a good thing because I'm looking forward to that, except I don't want to look forward to that old, sick, and poor, which was the situation when Social Security was passed. And we're headed for a time and a space where we're not able to take care of our elderly. And we're already having to work till we drop. And the government wants to boost the retirement age for Social Security to 70. And even if we boost it to 70, right? I mean, there's some jobs that can you really make work if you're a farmer out in the field. If you're in a construction job, can you still manage to climb on that roof and make those changes? I know many people can. I see I see a number of folks who are kicking it close to 80 that still can climb those ladders and clean those roofs. So I'm not saying that. But as we age, if we continue, if we adopt, if we vote for a cap on tax increases and make that a constitutional right, when all of us get to 85, where is the money going to come from to take care of us? We are reverting back to the conditions that existed before 1935. And let me tell you, when we talk about this care economy and the undervaluation of people who are providing this care, women who are staying home, and staying, getting out of the workforce because they have to take care of their elderly parents or their young children because they can't afford childcare. And the childcare industry can't afford workers. And the healthcare industry can't afford workers. And the nursing home industry can't afford workers. And workers are undervalued and underpaid. And who wants to go into a care profession when you can make more money working at McDonald's? So I'm saying that to say, you're like, how does this, what's this got to do with mechanics and farmers and Optus merging? Because mechanics and farmers and Optus both, over 100 years ago, We're filling that gap of financial support for Black communities. It was an opportunity, and we need to maintain Black financial institutions in order to have a safe, in order to ensure that the Black community can survive and thrive in the coming times, and that we're being conscious about building, rebuilding, and building our institutions, not dependent on government, not dependent on other things, but the government, quite frankly, the government has to reform itself and address these things not as charity, but as a as an understanding of how the economy is going to be working and who's going to be here and how are we going to look out for our elderly. What is the support system that's going to be in place? And how do we move people up, create a chain of opportunity for people to live and grow? Mechanics and Farmers Bank and Optus Bank are key to the future success of Black people in North and South Carolina, and I envision their growth over the next 5 to 10 years to include our brothers and sisters in Georgia and Tennessee and Virginia. I see this as opportunity. I'm very supportive of the concept, but I want them to leave no child behind. Don't leave Durham behind. Don't leave Winston-Salem behind. Don't leave Columbia behind. Let's join hands and build a network of Black net worth across um, across the South, starting with the Carolinas, building a very strong base here in the Carolinas, and then expanding that out to Black America. That's my hope. I am part of a network of Black organizations that will be meeting with the leadership and and sharing our joy about this merger, but also sharing um, yeah, also sharing our concerns. So this is a wonderful opportunity for Black America. Mechanics and Farmers Bank and Optus Bank um, will be have 1.27 billion with a B in assets. Um, but we need to understand that they currently have satisfactory CRA ratings. That's down. Mechanics and Farmers is explained by the fact that they jumped up, they moved from one type of institution to another, and so they were graded on a different scale than they had previously been graded on. But we can't have the largest Black owned institution having satisfactory CRA record when I demand more of others. So that's something that I'm concerned about. How we can make sure that they are delivering for the Black community, for especially for um, their bread and butter, which is their bread and butter, which is small business lending and community development lending. We need them up front and center when it comes to that kind of opportunity. Um, the you know we are excited about this. I want to make that clear. We're looking at um, a combined 10 branches across 2 states, with the majority of those 8 branches in North Carolina, 2 branches in South Carolina. So we certainly expect to see some growth. And we know that our South Carolina partners are looking forward to some growth and some new um, opportunities in South Carolina for offices. We're concerned in Durham that we're going to be losing our headquarters. Um, the combined organization is going to have 131 employees. We think that growth is going to happen, um, and we're really excited about. Um, but they could deploy more capital. They both are a little stingy when it comes to deploying their capital. They've been real good about their equity, net income, everything that they do as a bank. They are solid as a rock when it comes to their future in terms of how the management of both banks has been incredible. I will say that Mechanics and Farmers has been a little bit more conservative over the past 3 years than Optus has. Um, Optus has been a little bit more aggressive in its asset acquisitions, and so um, it's going to be interesting to see how these two philosophies merge um, as they as the growth happens. Um, but we're really wildly excited about it because of what it means for maybe and preserving. I always believe in that you have to put the mask on first, and we're about to face a severe bumpy ride economically and socially and civically as a Black America. We are about to see the pattern is clear. We got one chance to put a stop on that, and that's in November. And if we fail to stop this train, if we fail to stop this train in November, our our future is going to look like we're going to go back to the real Jim Crow. This is no sophisticated Jim Crow. They're bringing back straight up no chaser stuff. Did you all see in the paper yesterday? Did you see on the news last night that ICE is getting shot gloves that they're going to use on people? How soon do you think they're going to be using that on our babies out here in these streets? That's torture. That's cruel and unusual punishment. And we're it's a news story that just pops up, pops down, like ain't nothing to it but to do it. Y'all better wake up and show up in November. The only poll that counts is the election poll on November 4th. Okay? Y'all need to wake up and show up. Anita Earls is looking good in the Rasher polls that came out this week. She's looking good. She's up by 4 points, but we know that that Supreme Court seat has been won by less than 1,000 votes for the last 10 years. We can't sleep on that. We can't feel good about that. We know better. Better show up. I'm excited to tell you all that I hooked a big one. Let's see if I can get y'all to see this. Sixth Generation, the autobiography of Mel Watt. Mel Watt is going to be here. He's going to be here next week to talk about this book. And let me tell you, okay? So I read this book and I was thinking, oh, this is going to be. No, this book is full of tea. I'm talking serious sweet tea up in this book. It's his life story, but you know, he was in the room where it happened all the time. Oh, and as a politician that grew up in Durham, oh my goodness. It was so exciting. So exciting. But also his family story. His family story is amazing. And did you know he grew up in a town called Dixie, North Carolina? Dixie, North Carolina. We're going to talk about um, his life story. I'm telling you, you got to get this book, The Sixth Generation, the autobiography of Mel Watt. You've got to get this book. Okay? It is worth the read just for the history, but I'm also talking about the tea. Okay, the tea is sweet in this book. If you want to know about the 1992 presidential race and how Bill Clinton won North Carolina and how we sent two black congressmen, Mel Watt and Eva Clayton, to Congress that year, and the backstory about how I think Clyburn and Eva, all the back channel on who got to be president of the freshman class, and how Mel did the deep work um, and went and got on like a committee nobody wanted, but it was a committee that was essential, and how he played power, and how he went on to work in the Obama administration. There's so much tea in this book, people, so much tea. And we're going to have him all for a whole hour next week to talk to us about his book, The Sixth Generation. And buy your copy at melwatt.com, and he will autograph your book. Yes, he will. And so I'm looking forward to it. We're gonna have a good time with it, and so I'm just hopeful. Folks, I've been doing Community Reinvestment Act, like civil rights activist work for over 30 years. And one of my partners in crime in the struggle, in fact, we were working together doing and analyzing and discussing this Mechanics and Farmers and Optus Bank merger just last Wednesday. And I found out this week that my dear friend Irv Henderson passed away not hours after we talked. 24 hours. We've been plotting, planning, having a good time. Um, Having just the best time. And I found out Monday that he passed away. Now, a lot of you all don't know that Irv is was a fundamental part of my um, career. In fact, most of the big changes in my career um, were because of Irv. Irv was the person who was the first chair of the board of the North Carolina Fair Housing Center that hired me to be its executive director. He and Peter Skillern um, taught me everything I know about CRA. Um, he and Peter Skillern really, particularly Irv, he really let me understand how community reinvestment impacted Black communities. He also encouraged me to work with NCRC, which you know I have spent over 30 years of my life with NCRC. And I was introduced to NCRC by Irv. He was also responsible for the very first national training contract I got with the NAACP, the national NAACP, to do training around predatory lending across the country. Um, he was my friend, but we were always sparring. And they say that iron sharpens iron, and people and a person sharpens a person. And so we have to remember that. That's Proverbs 27:17. I know I was paraphrasing, but I do want y'all to know how much I care um, for him. And my condolences go out to his wife and children and grandchildren and those of us um, who have worked with him over the years. I just want to honor him um, in his legacy. And they have on the kudos board a number of contributions. He was a national figure. He has more um, presidential pins from more presidents than you can imagine. He has pins from um, Bill Clinton, um, I think George Bush, and Obama. He was well regarded by, he was beloved by NCRC, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, Main Street USA, um, and Community Capital. Those are the things he worked on, right? Community reinvestment, community development, financial institutions, um, preserving historic treasures of our community, including and specifically preserving Black heritage and history through his work. He just was an amazing person, and I just honor him and love him so much. And in I looked through over 500 pictures, and there's only one of me and him, with me and him in the same frame. We were in the same room, but with just me and him in the same frame, uh, there are not that many um, photos. He was an amazing speaker, a policy person. He was on point and on time, and he just you just deserve to know who he was. You just deserve to know who he was. Here he is with bank regulators, um, holding fort. He and Jesse Jackson were very close friends. There are a couple of photos of him. He was national figure. Um, he knew his stuff. He was the best. Here's a picture of me, him, Reverend Barber, Bob Dickerson out of Alabama, and my dear friend John Taylor, who was the president of NCRC. This is the only picture with me and Irv in the same frame. The only one where we're in the same frame. And look at him at this Main Street conference here. Look at all the people, thousands and thousands. It's like a rock star. It's like a rock star. And here, giving the side eye to a regulator who's talking smack. He had good side eye. Oh, this right here is me, but you can't see me. Oh, there are two pictures of me and him in the same frame. I take that back. Amazing man, amazing friend, and I am going to miss him much. I am going to miss him much, but I am going to continue to do the work that he and I we had the work he left for me to finish. Trust me, I'm going to do that. I got the assignment. In fact, I got it 24 hours before he passed, so I will complete the assignment, Earth. I promise you, I will complete the assignment. Next week, Mel Watt, 12 noon, Mel Watt, Con- former congressman, former regulator. What was he running? He was just an amazing man. Oh, and he can tell us about the shenanigans they're playing. We're going to talk about the shenanigans going on in Congress, how they left his seat open and didn't fill it, how this, you know, what the current state of affairs are, and what we need to do to ensure that we put a kibosh on this train. Don't just accept what they're about to try to do, but we're going to fight. I mean, also, he quotes, I'm going to read this from his book. He wrote in his book about Congressman George White, who represented the 2nd Congressional District back in 1901. And he was the last black representative in Congress. See, this ain't the first time they've done the shenanigans with these districts. Not the first time. This is not the first time. And so in 1901, George White gave his final speech on the floor of, he was the last black man standing in Congress. And he wrote in 1901, "This, Mr. Chairman, is perhaps the Negro's temporary farewell to the American Congress. But let me say, Phoenix like, he will rise up someday and come again. These parting words are in behalf of an outraged, heartbroken, bruised, and bleeding, but God fearing people, faithful, industrious, loyal people, rising people, full of potential." And then Mel Watts says on January 5th, 1993, Eva Clayton and I showed up together, picked up our official congressional pins, pinned them on each other, and sat next to each other as we were officially sworn in as only the first and second African Americans from North Carolina elected to Congress since Congressman George White delivered his prophetic words 90 years earlier. People, we cannot let the election the voter suppression tactics that the Republican Party is trying to use make us rinse and repeat this history. We have to fight to protect voting rights. Voting rights are not a given. You only have the rights you're willing to exercise and you're willing to use. If you're not willing to fight for it, you won't keep it. We have to fight. But we have to understand what we're fighting for. We have to understand what it is we're protecting. We are not protecting the status quo. We are protecting a future that is stronger and better and more prosperous and more secure and more dignified than the one we have today. We're not fighting to maintain the status quo. We are fighting for change, but not just any change. And not change that'll someday happen. We need a forthright, deliberate plan to make it happen. There were opportunities and choices to delay and defer Black rights and Black opportunity. But when you delay and defer, you deny. If we're successful in November, delays and deferral are not options on the table. You are not going to compromise the future of our children and grandchildren. That's the price of victory. We expect our share of the spoils, not leftover crumbs, but our share of the spoils. Black women are the most dependable votes in America for progress and for our future and our children. And yet, the least valued in our economic system. We're the backbone of America, but we don't get paid. Job losses, we took the brunt of them. 100%, 100% of job losses in July were women. Get that, understand that, process that. Mel Watt will be our guest next week. I'm excited about this book. Buy it, read the tea for it. The tea is sweet in this book. Those of you in Durham want to know what happened when the 2nd and the 12th were split off. Oh, there's sweet tea in here. Sweet tea in here. I love this book. I'm looking forward to conversation. You know, I was elected to office the same year as Mel Watts. So we will talk about um, being on the campaign trail, although in 92 I was not supporting Mel Watt because he was running against Mickey Michelle. And without Mickey Michelle, I wouldn't have got married to my husband TC. We got married during his campaign against Tim Valentine, and so we'll be sharing stories. There'll be a lot of tea sipping going on next week, people. Um, I'm going to cut this week short. Thank y'all. Looking forward to a really fun show next week. Mel Watt will be on our show. Former Congressman Mel Watt will be on our show next week. And he's got some really great stuff. He's one of the few African Americans in the country that can trace his heritage to the slave ship. Uh, and so that's very interesting. All right, people. I got a lot of work to do. So I'll see you all next week on our exciting new edition of Doing Justice Brings Joy.